All right, so we're back for another deep dive, and I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, especially after all that reading you've been doing about global cooperation, right?
Oh, tons. It's been fascinating, really.
And this excerpt, from Control, Greed, and Fear,
Yeah.
whoa,
Mm.
really doesn't sugarcoat things.
No, not at all.
Gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? I mean, why is it so hard to get everyone on the same page,
Yeah.
you know, globally, even when, let's face it, there's plenty to go around?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head. It's like we're living in this bizarre paradox, right?
Deeply.
We hear all about abundance, how we have enough resources, technology, the know-how to solve a lot of these huge problems. But then on the other hand, we've got, what, like a billion people still struggling with hunger every single day.
It's wild. I mean, I was looking at some stats earlier, and back in, like 1960, global food production was enough to provide something like 2,300 calories per person each day.
Right.
But fast forward to today, we're talking close to 2,900 calories. It's crazy. More food than ever before. And yet, the UN's still saying, what, almost a billion people are chronically undernourished?
It's heartbreaking, and that's exactly the puzzle this excerpt tries to unpack, right? If it's not about a literal lack of resources, then what's the real sticking point?
Yeah. What is going on?
Well, this source, it really zeroes in on control, saying it's not the scarcity itself that's the problem.
Right.
It's the way we've built up all these systems of control, sometimes on purpose, sometimes not, but they're all kind of creating these roadblocks to actually sharing and cooperating.
So it's not like we're actually short on pie. It's more like we can't agree on who gets to cut it.
A perfect analogy. Think about global financial institutions. They've got this incredible amount of power. They're the ones dictating how money moves around, shaping trade deals, influencing entire countries' economic policies.
Right. It's a huge web of influence.
Absolutely. And all too often, those systems, well, they end up prioritizing the interests of just a tiny fraction of the global population.
Yeah. Makes it even harder for countries to actually work together on things like making sure everyone has access to resources or, dealing with debt relief and all of that.
Right.
But then, and this is where it gets really interesting to me, we've got the human side of things.
Oh, yeah.
Greed and fear. Right. I mean, how much do those factor into the equation?
Oh, they're huge. I mean, on the one hand, you've got greed, which is just this engine, this constant push for more, right?
Yeah.
More power, more wealth, more influence, whatever it is, you always want more. And then on the flip side, there's fear.
Oh, yeah. Fear is a powerful one.
It is. Fear of losing what you have, of looking weak, of the other, whoever we perceive as different or threatening.
And that just breeds more of that us versus them thinking, right? Only now it's playing out on a global scale.
Exactly. And it creates this awful cycle, too. We act out of fear, which makes other people afraid, leads to more conflict, which just feeds the fear we started with.
Vicious cycle.
Yeah.
It never ends. But this is where what the excerpt says about power really hits home. It's these power-driven systems that keep that cycle going because they actually reward competition over cooperation. It's like they're built to create winners and losers.
And the more those winners win, the more they want to hold on to that power. And the losers, well, their fear and resentment just grows. It just keeps fueling that fire.
So the more I read about all this, the more it starts to feel pretty bleak.
I get it.
But thankfully, the source doesn't leave us completely hanging it, right?
No.
It throws out this question, asks, can humanity actually break free from this pattern? And I got to ask, where do we even begin? I mean, this stuff feels so deeply embedded in everything.
Well, it's definitely $1 million question. But honestly, I think recognizing the problem, truly understanding the forces at play, that's a huge first step. We have to start questioning those systems, those structures of power, and asking the tough questions like, are they really serving humanity as a whole? Or are they just perpetuating this cycle of control and conflict where a select few benefit at the expense of everyone else?
Yeah. And I think that's such a crucial point. It's not just about changing laws or policies. It's about a real shift in our mindset.
100%.
Our values, right?
Right.
It's like instead of constantly asking, what's in it for me?
Right.
Maybe we start asking, how can we create a system that actually works for everybody?
Right. What if global leaders actually made cooperation and well-being a priority for everyone? And what if international institutions were actually designed to make sure resources are shared fairly and we could actually work together to solve problems?
Whoa. I mean, just imagine. That's a pretty powerful picture.
It is.
It also throws down a challenge to all of us, though, right?
Yeah.
If we actually want to see a world that's more cooperative, more equitable, we can't just sit around and wait for someone else to fix it.
Yep.
We each have to start asking, what can I do right here, right now to be part of that change.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be this big, grand gesture. It could be supporting organizations doing great work in global cooperation, or just talking about these ideas with the people around you, getting those conversations started.
Yeah, because even those seemingly small actions, when you've got millions of people doing them, they can really add up. They can make a difference.
Absolutely.
So yeah, this source, it definitely lays out some tough realities.
Yeah.
But it also reminds us that we're not powerless. We have the ability to imagine something better. And most importantly, we have the power to start building it. It starts with understanding how all of this works, asking the right questions, and then most importantly, choosing to act, even in small ways. To build a world where cooperation and shared prosperity aren't just pipe dreams, but the reality we live in every day.
Well said. I couldn't agree more.